Hi, thanks so much for joining me. I'm Danny from the Glittered Rose. Today I wanted to share a project that I've made using super cheap art supplies. So I know for some people that getting into mixed media art journaling can be overwhelming and expensive. And I just wanted to prove that you don't need to rush out and buy the top quality artists' supplies. You can grab really cheap supplies that are good and will get you lovely results without having to spend a fortune. So I've kept this page fairly simple. I've just used bare minimums. So I've gotten myself some, sorry, my camera won't focus, gesso, some modeling paste, some chalk paints um, from, these are all from Kmart, and chalk paints were okay. You can use a glue stick or whatever. I just used my collage medium. I did mean to grab myself a glue stick to show you that, but I forgot, of course. And some super cheap brushes also from Kmart. There are some other things on the page, like some scrapbook paper, which I believe is super easy to grab and cheap. And the rub-ons for the wording. Those brushes were so cheap, and they're okay. So if you want to stick around and see how you can complete a really nice art journal page without spending a fortune on supplies, be sure to stick around. Leave me a comment down below, hit the like button, and let me know what you think. Um, I really had fun making it, and it just goes to prove that you don't need the best of everything to get started. All right, let's get into it. So a recent trip to Kmart had me really surprised. So I grabbed this brush set. It comes with 23 paint brushes. It's got assorted sizes, a canvas roll, a palette knife, and a storage container. So there's 20, 23 pieces in it, and it cost me $12. And the brushes are okay. I wouldn't say that they're the best brushes, but they're also not the worst. When you're using things like gesso, you don't want anything too good because it just ruins your brushes. I grabbed some modeling paste. So this is 500 mils for $8. It's a massive tub. It is so huge. So I grabbed that along with some gesso. This was $7.50. It's 250 mils. And I also grabbed some chalk finish paint. I do have some experience with chalk paint with painting my furniture. So I was really interested to see how this would go in an art journal. I do really like chalk paint because it's textured and a little bit gritty. Um, so I thought I'd grab that, and we'll put all these things to the test. So for the five or six different colors of chalk paint, it cost me $5. I think it might be on clearance, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like. The colors are really pretty. There's a real mix, more sort of pastel colors, but that sort of suits me as well. We'll give it a go. I'm not sure what the quality is going to be like, but you know, for the price, it's worth a shot. I'm making this video as beginner friendly as possible, so and also for people who are on a budget. So this image is available for free in my Facebook group called The Glittered Roses. I've made a couple of collage sheets available exclusively for the members. So you print that out. I've printed it out on satin photo paper. And then I've just chosen a couple of scrapbook papers because I think scrapbook papers work really well in mixed media art journals. It's easy to find colours that work well together. There's lots of choices, and it's relatively cheap. So um, we'll just be using a larger art journal. This is a Stamperia one, and we'll do a page in this. This page is going to be as simple as possible. I'm not going to do any fancy supplies or techniques. I just want something that will work with the supplies that I got. So there is some overspray on this page. So I want to put this gesso to a test and see if it covers up that spray. We'll see how it goes. I realize that I'm using Australian supplies, but I'm sure wherever you are in the world that you'll be able to get similar items from something similar to our Kmart. I've always been one to buy, top quality artist supplies from art shops, and for something like an art journal, I don't think it's necessary. I think it is overkill because it doesn't need to be light fast. It doesn't need all the amazing properties. Just something that's fun to work with and works well. So we're just going to give this a go and see how it goes. Okay, so straight up I can see that this is not as white as my Liquitex. It's got a nice thickness. It is definitely thicker than my Liquitex, but I don't mind that. It's a little bit gritty. It's not too gritty, but I'm in the gritty camp for gesso. I do like a bit of texture, and it is meant to have that tooth so it can grip on. All right, I'm going to paint this on and then dry it off. Okay, so first impressions, I'm quite impressed with the gesso. I think that it really blocked out that colour well. You can hardly see it underneath it. I did put a nice thick layer, but I think it's really nice. It'll be interesting to see if it is a little bit translucent when I pop it on over my background papers. So I'm intrigued to see how it goes using it in that way. I'm just covering up that page because I don't want to make a mess of it. And also my camera focuses on faces, so if she's out of the way, it won't be focusing on her. Okay, so I'm just tearing up some of these scrapbook papers and randomly going to paste it on. I'm just sticking it down and then sealing it with the collage medium. But like I said earlier, you can use a glue stick or whatever you've got. You don't need the exact same supplies. And this video is just to test super cheap art supplies to see if you really do need to go whole hog and buy really expensive supplies. I always like to seal on top of my papers. That just protects them. Really, by the time everything's on, you don't see a lot of these background papers. You can see a little bit. It just sort of adds a little bit of interest and a little bit of texture without being too much. But yes, I'm aware it's ugly. It's going to get uglier, but you just have to push through it and realize that it'll come together. It always does. I'm also going to introduce an old book page. So this is just from a really old novel, and I just rip up the pages and pop it in. This book's really nice. There's some really nice dark kind of age spots on them. It looks really nice on the paper, but age spots on my face I'm not so such a fan of. Damn sun. See, there's a nice spot there near my finger. Just paste it in. I don't really worry too much about where it all goes because I like to pop some gesso and paint over, so that pushes it all back into the background. And I'll use the white patches as white space. So when I'm going in with the gesso, I'll blend all that together as well. Okay, I'm going to dry this off and then I'll be back. Okay, so now I'm going to fussy cut out this butterfly. A really good method of fussy cutting is having your scissors on an angle. So angling them out towards the edge more. I'm not going to worry about those antennas, I think. I'll cut them off. So angle them out, and that just shapes your paper so that you don't see so much of your border. It doesn't matter so much with something like this with a more creamy sort of a background, but if it was white, it really helps with that white halo around. I'll just fussy cut this and then I might pop some paint on. I think scrapbook paper is a really great thing to have in your collection. It's quite cheap, especially things like Kaiser Craft scrapbook paper. And there's all different prints and things that you can cut out and different patterns. I think it's a fantastic thing to invest in. All right, that's nice and dry. So I'm going to grab my gesso and go over this background. So this is just going to make everything sort of meld together, look more, I know I say this all the time, but look more cohesive. I'm going to blend around that white patch in the middle, which will just make it look like that white space is more natural, that it's just not missing something in the middle, that it's meant to be there. And by blending those edges together, it makes everything just sit nicely and more harmonized. I'm popping on some thicker in some areas to add a bit more texture and a bit more interest. This is lovely thick gesso. I quite like it. I'll definitely reach for this. I do really highly recommend those that are in Australia to grab yourself some Kmart gesso. Can you see what I mean by it makes things more cohesive? It looks more together, and it sort of gives it a more of a sort of a soft focus look. I love it. I feel like all I'm doing in this video is drying things off. Okay, so now it's time to test this modeling paste, and I'm going to color it using some of this chalk paint. So my first impressions of the chalk paint is that it didn't come in a squeezy bottle at all. It's just got a cap, so that's a little disappointing. The modeling paste looks nice. It's very thick. It's thick but feels light, if that makes sense. It's sort of whippy. So I'm just coloring this modeling paste. I think a little bit of color will be nice. And I sort of just test the viscosity of it as well. If you can add some paint to your modeling paste, it's kind of helpful. So I've just grabbed one of my stencils. This one's by Tim Holtz. And I'm just rubbing on some paste. I laughed the other day. I saw somebody listing a whole heap of Tim Holtz supplies on Marketplace, and I think they may have just gone off his signature, and they they listed it under Jim Holtz, which I can totally see how that can happen. It does look like a J, not a T. So I'm just spreading it on. I'm not worrying too much about it being perfect. I just want a little bit of texture and I just want to test it out. But it's quite smooth. It goes down really nicely. Okay, so I'm just popping that down. I think that went on really nicely. It's not perfect, but I don't like it perfectly smooth. I like it extra textury, if you will. All right, I'm going to wash this stuff off and then I'll be back. Rightio, let's put this to the test. I love a texture paste that will dry using a heat gun. A lot of them either bubble or they can go really crumbly. So I just want to test and see what happens when I hit the heat gun on this one. Seems to be drying nicely. I'm going to dry it all the way off and I'll be back with my thoughts. It's dried perfectly. It's smooth, it's not crumbly, it didn't bubble and carry on. I think that the modeling paste is a real winner. I'm really happy with how the gesso has gone. Let's test the chalk paint now. It's quite runny. It's runnier than I was expecting. It's translucent, which I like. It'll be interesting to see what sort of texture it has when it's dry. I'm just painting on some green. I'm not worrying too much about it being perfect. I just want streaks of colour, just to give it that painterly effect. The chalk paint's quite runny. It's not really what I was expecting. I was expecting a thicker type of paint. The colour's very pretty. All right, I'm going to dry this off and then we'll be back. Okay, so the chalk paint's dry and it's a little, yeah, it's not quite as textural as I was hoping. It's not very chalky. But the colour's nice, and I don't really have those types of colours in my paint collection, so I'm happy anyway. And as I keep saying, you don't need to have the best quality for an art journal. I'm just going to glue this butterfly down loosely, and then we'll do some blending. Okay, so I've grabbed a smaller brush, one of the Kmart brushes, and now I just want to blend those edges. So this image has quite a large background. So I think I'm going to blend over the image and bring some of that color in. I think that that should make it look more cohesive. I'm just going to paint some of this background in a bit. The background does look a little painterly to begin with, so painting over it works well as well. Such a pretty color. I'm not sure if the camera's picking up the details of this blending. But I think it sort of just adds that little bit of extra cohesion to the page. It's really is a very simple art journal page. I think sometimes I personally have a tendency to overcomplicate things, and sometimes simple just works. So it's quite a simple, easy method, but just an easy way to make things look a bit more blended. She's such a pretty image. If you'd like to get yourself a copy, you're really welcome to join us at the Glittered Roses. We're a group of paper crafters. There are some scrapbookers, mixed media artists, card makers. There's a bit of a mix, along with quite a few mixed media artists. We have monthly challenges, and this month is spooky. Um, we would really love it if you join us. We're only small, so the more the merrier. Just trying this off. I'm going over with a bit more gesso just to highlight that white space. I have a tendency to put too much into a page and forget about a white space. So coming in with some white gesso um, just sort of dulls it down and puts in a fake white space. Um, yeah, I like this gesso. I think it's quite nice. You get massive amount for the price. I'm really happy. Okay, I'll dry this off and then try and work out how to finish it. I want to pop on a saying, and I figure that transfers are a little bit more niche, a little bit harder to get, and a little bit more expensive. However, you do you. Print out a saying or cut up some magazine words. It doesn't have to be what I'm using. I'm just using that there because I think it needs something, and I think this is perfect. So this is a 49 and market transfer, and I think that they're just so cool. You just slowly peel them, and you can tell if it hasn't transferred onto your page perfectly. You just rub it more. And what really impresses me about these transfers is that they'll transfer over paint, over some texture paste if it's not too thick. They are really fantastic, and they're not shiny, so um, they don't look like stickers. I think they're fantastic. I like that. I might pop another one on. This is really nice, sort of a sweet coloured page. It's not too grungy. I'll just cut out the next transfer and pop it on. I'm not sure if they're called rub-ons or transfers. I think they're rub-ons. Um, this Use Your Wings one looks like a sticker. It's so cool, but it's not. It's a rub-on. I love it. I've just grabbed a charcoal pencil and I'm just going to go around the borders of things and smudge it in. The great thing about the charcoal pencil is that it does smudge and it goes all over different surfaces. You can use anything or nothing, just depending on what you've got. This one's called Astedlar Mars Lumograph Charcoal. I just grabbed it from Officeworks, I think. It's just really nice because it just sort of smudges and gives it that edging. You can really also scratch into paint and gesso with them, so I do recommend them. If you're new to mixed media, um, just it's something that you can slowly build your supplies. You don't need everything to start. You only need a couple of supplies and you're ready to go. That's the great thing about it. I think I'm going to call that done. I'm really happy with it. I'm super happy with the gesso and the modeling paste. I think that they're fantastic. The chalk paint is okay. If you like the colors, I'd probably suggest to get them. Um, but the gesso and the modeling paste are keepers. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. If you think I've proven that you don't need, you know, the top quality artist supplies to get a really nice result, because I really think that this page is really sweet. Leave me a comment, hit the like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Thanks for watching till the end. Till next time, guys. Bye for now.